Welcome to another edition of Meet the Metapreneur. My name is Sharad Agarwal. I'm the Chief Metaverse Officer of CyberGear, a Web3 agency based right here in Dubai. I have with me a neuroscientist, believe it or not, for the first time on the show, and her name is Deca. She's a friend of mine. I've met her a couple of times in Dubai, and I'm happy to have her on our show. Welcome to the show, Diana.
Thank you for inviting me, Sharad.
Yes, when I met you first time just a couple of weeks back, I loved the business that you are building, and in my mind I had thought that one day we will have you on our show. I didn't realize it would be so quickly, but of course it's amazing that you are here with us today. Diana, can you please introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Of course. So, hello everyone. My name is Deca. I am the CEO of neurobotx, which is a US-based company. We have an HQ in Dubai. I am a neurobiologist, as Sharad said very kindly. I did my PhD in neurobiology at the Max Planck Institute for Neurobiology in Munich. I then, not to bore you too much, did my postdoc with the two Nobel laureates that discovered the spatial navigation system in the brain, one of the biggest discoveries about the brain. And learning from how the brain maps space, I decided that I would like to see that knowledge embedded into different systems, from robotic systems to AI systems. At neurobotx, we're actually focusing now on air taxis or eVTOLs, and we're trying to bring them to market faster. So fingers crossed, within 2 years or so, we will all be taking flying cars. We will be able to connect with a cognitive metaverse, since this is the topic of the day, directly with our brain. Now, that's not going to happen in 2 years. It will happen in 10 years, maybe longer, but it's definitely worth being excited about it, I think. Maybe I'm biased.
Great. So Diana, talk to us a little bit about your organization, neurobotx, in terms of the journey thus far. When did this idea first come to you? How long did it take you to implement this? And where are you at today in this journey?
Yeah, well, I will have to go a little bit into the topic of my research and why I think it's interesting. So in my PhD, I was actually working with mice, like the rodents, and I was training them. I built a little VR arena for them in which they were running on a ball, and then in front of them they had this huge VR screen, right? So we were using electrodes that were implanted deep in their brain, in the motor cortex, to see essentially whether we can convince the brain that the VR is real. Now, this was long before the metaverse and the Facebook craze, and before any such wording was used. So what was cool about these neurons is that they create a sort of a metric for space without really processing a lot of information. That's why our brains are so energy efficient. Like, we're looking at each other now, we're not processing each other's Zoom backgrounds, right? We're maybe looking at some features as we're talking, as they are connected with what I'm saying. Now, going back to the brain's spatial navigation system, I started to wonder, what if we can better understand how it forms this metric of space, how we get an idea of how we map space in our brains, in the mouse brain. What if we can emulate that into other systems, right? And if we could, what if we can upgrade that and better understand, space as we know it? What if we can access multiple dimensions? And I know that the background is perfect for this kind of discussion. We can geek out on this for as long as you like. But yes, I'm really happy that now with neurobotx, with what we're building, which is, I think, truly a cognitive metaverse, that we got funding from Boeing, and we got support and funding from all these big corporations. That means a lot to me. It means that this knowledge is not going to die together with the 5 people that actually know about it. It will pervade through industry. So fingers crossed.
Amazing. So these days there's so much talk of artificial intelligence, and I think software like Chat, GPT, etc. are pretty much front and center. And you've been in the AI space much before these conversations have started. So I do know that you have coined two phrases, right, in this field. One is artificial general intelligence, and the other is whole brain emulation. I'm curious to know what these mean, and if you can put some context on this, please.
Yeah, happy to. So AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence. It means that intelligence can be reconstructed in other places, that it can be emulated, a bit like you would emulate a piece of code from MATLAB to a piece of code from Python, different types of code, but same function, right? So keeping the brain function onto two, like, or several different substrates. So that's artificial general intelligence, and that's something that we would like to achieve. I don't think that ChatGPT is there. I think there's a lot of work to be done and a lot of understanding that needs to happen about ourselves first. So, which brings me to the whole brain emulation point. So I mentioned emulation. Obviously, it's the idea that you can emulate a brain function and put it into a piece of or an algorithm. So this has quite some history. I think the first writing about whole brain emulation and artificial general intelligence happened around 10, 15 years ago at this meeting in Oxford. I would say maybe Ben Goertzel is one of the creators. And he also built the robot Sophia, and a few other futurist professors from Oxford. Now, at the time, all of this happened in the philosophy department, which is very interesting because in time, we have been revisiting these concepts. But this time, I've seen it over the last 10 years with actual research in university labs, and then later on with actual companies that are getting closer and closer to achieving AGI. Probably DeepMind was one of them. But the fact itself that there is so much progress in this field is a very good thing, obviously. Yeah, at some point I will stop talking so much about philosophy and boring stuff, and we're probably going to start talking about business. But yeah, again, I find this stuff fascinating. If anyone wants to geek out on this, they're very welcome to contact me. But yeah.
Yeah, and how can people, across the globe get involved in what you are doing?
Well, there is quite a bit of work to like understanding that in full, but there are definitely a few resources that we put together. In fact, if you go to our website, neurobotx.ai, there's a part there called technology, and it's starting to explain in detail what is neuromorphic computing, what is whole brain emulation, what is AI, what are neural networks, and then just going deeper and deeper. And we'll find a way to make it as a kind of a rabbit hole so that people that really want to get into this, for a few weeks can do so.
Great. So people you recommend should visit your website, which is neurobotx.ai, and perhaps they can connect with you on LinkedIn as well, where I know you're putting out good content. And if you close your eyes and fast forward to 5 years, 2028, where are you? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so, well, I see flying cars, first of all. That's the first milestone that we want to achieve. Dubai is great in that way because it's one of the first city to buy air taxis around the Palm, which is a wonderful thing. I think it will make a big difference in our lives, considering even, ambulance and police cars, if they're vertically taking off and landing, as opposed to getting stuck in traffic jams. That's already a big change for us. So essentially, to go back to what we built at Metapilot, we built a game, which is called Metapilot, where in a copy of New York, you're flying these flying car models around. So you're picking up an avatar of myself from skyscrapers, and then you're putting me down to wherever I need to be. And then you kind of repeat that process. The cool thing about this is you get to test air taxi models that are experimental now, but will be on the market in 2 to 3 years. Which I think is very cool. For example, if you like race cars, you're going to love this. The cool thing about the game is it generates synthetic data, which is actually bought and used by these air taxi companies to go faster to market. So for example, we plan to make a copy of Dubai as well, and then see and simulate a lot of things before they happen. For example, we can simulate a sandstorm in Dubai, or a storm, or an incoming falcon, or whatever things you can imagine that you would prefer would happen to you. And then that data is then processed by our machine learning algorithm, which brings me back to AI and spatial computing. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm sure our audience will find this fascinating. And finally, before I let you go, Diana, you've been an entrepreneur for some time now. What would be your advice to budding, people who are getting into the Web3 space for the first time? Just top of your head, one or two pieces of advice you'd like to share with the Gen Z, especially who are very, excited to venture into metaverse.
Right. Well, from my experience, and this has been the way I did things, I see a lot of value in getting some kind of formal training because that will be a value add that other people do not have. There are already so many people in this field. So that doesn't have to be a very expensive master's or PhD degree. It can also be a degree from Udemy or an online course. The point is, you should never stop learning. There are so many fascinating things happening. Metaverse is undefined, so there are so many approaches to it. Already, if you have that knowledge, you have a huge advantage. The second thing that for us was really important, maybe it took us even 2 years to fully understand, was that in this industry, we really needed to find our niche, which was a very specific niche. It's for air taxis that want to be simulated. And we would not have had this idea if we didn't go through a lot of painful processes, discussing with clients like Boeing and many others, who very openly told us what is important to them and also what is not, because some things were maybe interesting to me, but they were not interesting for them, at least not in the long run. So finding your niche. And then third, once you have the knowledge and the niche, creating key partnerships with the key decision makers within that niche. When we started to be part of the regulatory groups that write the laws for air taxi flight, this is when we were able to add value as we would to our clients. So can you offer your clients something that they cannot find anywhere else at a better price than if they did it themselves? That's in the end what it boils down to. A bit of a painful process, not easy on everyone's ego, definitely not on mine and our teams, but I feel like we've become much stronger after this, and it's humbling.
No, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that advice. And Diana, I wish you all success in your future endeavors. I'll be, keeping track of all your milestones on your way to more success in time to come. And look forward to seeing you on the other side. And want to, you've given us a lot of takeaways, and I'm sure you'll be hearing from our audience in the coming days on social media and on, various communities that I'm part of. So yes, thanks a lot for being on our show today, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you very much, Sharad. It was a pleasure.
Likewise. Bye.